Welcome to an on-demand webinar about the Iowa Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Deployment Plan. This webinar will provide information about electric vehicles, or EVs, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, and how the state of Iowa is developing a plan to deploy fast EV chargers through 2028. The Iowa Department of Transportation is partnering with the Iowa Economic Development Authority to oversee the development of an electric vehicle infrastructure deployment plan that supports transportation electrification efforts for Iowa. Once a plan is developed, it will be submitted to the governor for approval. Before we go into details about Iowa's EV infrastructure deployment plan, let's discuss electric vehicles and EV trends, both nationwide and within the state of Iowa. On a national level, EVs have increased in popularity. In the first quarter of 2022 alone, U.S. electric car sales jumped to a record high of more than 200,000 vehicles. Automakers are providing more EV options to consumers, and consumers are driving the increased demand for EVs. Within Iowa, electric vehicle adoption is growing. More than 9,400 EVs and hybrid vehicles were registered in the state as of April 2022. At least one of these vehicles was registered in every county. Across Iowa, there are around 270 public Level 2 and Level 3 EV charging sites. We will discuss charging levels later in the webinar. To gather public input to inform the plan development process, Iowa DOT and IEDA developed an online survey. The survey was open for 2 weeks and received more than 1,600 responses. The survey asked Iowans questions about individual driving and mobility habits, the perceived importance of potential charging site amenities, and opinions on charging site locations. Also, more than 700 individual comments were received. Responses were analyzed for common themes and sentiment, with 30% having a positive sentiment, 45% having a neutral sentiment, and 25% having a negative sentiment. The main common themes, in order of most to least frequent, include station amenities and location, general support, power needs, general opposition, affordability, cost or funding of infrastructure, vehicle range anxiety, and disadvantaged communities. So what is the NEVI program? NEVI stands for the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program. As part of the 2021 Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, or IJA, federal funding was authorized to support the continued development of EV chargers. As a result, Iowa is joining other states in developing plans to create an EV charging network along highway and interstate corridors. This network will offer convenient EV charging opportunities, as well as facilitate a more reliable travel network for EVs across the state. In February 2022, the federal government issued guidance for the NEVI program, which provides federal funds for the strategic development of EV charging infrastructure. There are several NEVI requirements that each state must follow when developing an EV infrastructure deployment plan. These include: be open to public and commercial fleet operators, prioritize EV charging stations along designated corridors, address the needs for charging infrastructure in rural corridors and underserved or disadvantaged communities, provide long-term operation and maintenance, include existing EV charging infrastructure programs and incentives, catalyze additional private investment, and consider consumer protection, cybersecurity, domestic manufacturing, emergency evacuation planning, environmental permitting, resilience, and terrain-related issues. The NEVI program provides up to $7.5 billion in federal funds to make EV chargers accessible to the public by establishing a nationwide interconnected network. $5 billion in funds goes to the NEVI Formula program, and $2.5 billion goes to a discretionary grant program. Iowa has been allocated $51.4 million in NEVI federal formula funding over 5 years, with $7.6 million being designated for the 2022 fiscal year. NEVI funds must first be used to build fast charging infrastructure along alternative fuel corridors. An alternative fuel corridor, or AFC, is a federally designated route on major highways that provides intercity, regional, and national travel using alternative fuel vehicles, like EVs. Iowa has 4 AFCs designated for electric-powered vehicles: Interstate 29, Interstate 35, Interstate 80, and Interstate 380. As we've seen with the trends highlighted earlier in the webinar, there is potential for growth in the EV market. But we want to be clear about Iowa's commitment and the progress made thus far. The state of Iowa has been a leader in embracing new opportunities in clean energy technology to benefit its residents, economy, and the environment. As technology continues to evolve, more challenges and opportunities will present themselves, and the state will continue to respond to the ever-changing environment as a leader in renewable energy production. Iowa is a nationally recognized leader in renewable energy and biodiesel and ethanol production. Our state has made significant investments in renewable fuels infrastructure. State leaders, local communities, private companies, and utilities are making solid progress to add electric vehicle infrastructure to our diverse fuel mix. Iowa remains unwavering in our support for varied fuel resources and associated infrastructure, including ethanol, biodiesel, propane, renewable natural gas, and electricity. The Iowa Economic Development Authority houses the State Energy Office and Clean Cities Program, both recognized and supported by the U.S. Department of Energy. A variety of other organizations and businesses in Iowa have made progress related to EV charging. We will build on these efforts, highlighted here. The state has also utilized its Volkswagen settlement grant funding, managed by Iowa DOT. That program allocated funds to support EV charging stations across the state, including some along interstate corridors. We are confident progress will continue with the addition of NEVI funds to expand Iowa's EV charging network. Next, let's discuss EV technology and Iowa's current network of charging infrastructure. There are 4 main types of EVs. Hybrid EVs use an electric propulsion system to assist liquid-fueled engines. An onboard battery charges while the vehicle brakes during normal operation. The vehicle never plugs in, and the battery helps to increase mileage or range, like miles per gallon in a gas-powered vehicle. Plug-in hybrids have an onboard battery that charges when connected to a power source. The battery is small and range varies by manufacturer and supplements traditional fuel usage. Typically, these vehicles range from 20 to 50 miles on a full battery and are good for traveling around town or commuting. The traditional fuel will also support longer trips beyond the battery's range. Completely electric vehicles refer to those where all charging and propulsion is done using electricity and an electric engine. Most manufacturers aim for about 300 miles per battery charge. Fuel cell electric vehicles are powered by electricity using a hydrogen-powered fuel cell. These vehicles do not plug in for charging. Similarly, there are 3 levels of charging stations: Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3, which is also known as direct current fast charging, or DCFC for short. NEVI funding supports the expansion of Level 3 DCFC chargers only. Level 3 chargers serve vehicles traveling long distances and take around 30 minutes to fully charge a vehicle. In comparison, Level 2 charging stations are slower and charge between 10 and 20 miles of range per hour. Level 1 chargers are much slower and are best suited for overnight charging, with about 2 to 5 miles of range charged per hour. This map shows current and future Level 3 fast charging stations in Iowa as of June 10th. Only 3 of the existing chargers are NEVI compliant sites. We'll go over what that means in the next section. This map can be viewed on the Iowa EV Plan website at iowadot.gov/Iowa EV Plan. Let's take a look at key components of Iowa's Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Development Plan. The vision for Iowa's plan is a readily accessible electric vehicle ecosystem that promotes mobility, reliability, and sustainability for the overall economic and social well-being of Iowa. In addition to meeting this vision, the plan must comply with NEVI funding requirements, including charging stations must be placed along designated AFCs, and stations must be less than or equal to 50 miles apart and less than 1 mile off of the corridor. There must be at least 4 fast charging ports at each site. This represents Level 3 charging. Charging stations must be open to the general public and cannot be proprietary to one specific vehicle manufacturer. Finally, the charging network must meet these requirements along alternative fuel corridors before funding can be used to support charging infrastructure in other locations. This is a sampling of the criteria used to weigh the pros and cons of proposed NEVI station. Criteria considered includes distance from existing NEVI-compliant charging stations, distance from all direct current fast charging stations, daily long-distance trips, cross-street average daily traffic, miles covered, distance from a suitable power source, rural support, amenities, and Justice 40 considerations, including equity, inclusion, and environmental justice. NEVI plan development is following an expedited schedule. In June 2022, Iowa DOT and IEDA gathered input from key stakeholders and the public. The plan is due by August 1st, 2022, and then approval by the Federal Highway Administration is anticipated to be received in September. Then, program rollout will begin in fall 2022. As this is a 5-year plan, the program will continue through 2028. We encourage you to stay informed and up to date on the plan's status and related efforts. You can do this by visiting the website at iowadot.gov/Iowa EV Plan. While there has been no final determination on when and how funds will be made available, we will update the website with the latest information as this effort continues. We encourage you to start conversations with your peers and communities, as this is just the beginning of a 5-year process. If you would like to provide a comment or ask a question, please email iowa.evplan@iowadot.us. Thank you for your interest in Iowa's planning efforts related to electric vehicle charging and for taking the time to view this on-demand webinar.